Hey everybody, this is B-Word of the Bleach Brothers podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I want to bring your attention to our Linktree. Please visit Linktree/Bleach Bros podcast for the links to all of our socials, streaming sites, and merch. Linktree is linktr.ee/Bleach Bros podcast, all one word. Have you entered to win Bleach Bros podcast merch yet? Check out our Facebook page at Bleach Bros Pod for rules and for more details. If you enjoy our content, make sure to give us a like and give us a review on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Also, invite your friends. And with that, let's get started with the show. You're listening to the Bleach Brothers podcast, hosted by B-Word and Jake. Welcome into the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is B-Word, and I am here with Jake the Hater, who looks like a Thanksgiving turkey. Jake, how you doing, bud?
You want to make fun of me because you actually screwed up the original opening and you made us start over like you had a turkey leg in your mouth.
I did.
I know what you're going to say. Oh,
seconds.
You usually have things in your mouth. But you know what? We have a guest tonight, so just be cordial, a cordial dickhead, and introduce him, please.
You actually have things stuck in your throat more than I do anything in my mouth. However, welcome in the Gnome from Dad's on Dayquill. Jordan, how you doing tonight, bud?
I am grand. Thanks to the Bleach Bros for having me on tonight, despite my blunder in our episode that came out today. This is not the Half Hour Bro show, so I apologize to the Bleach Bro Nation.
It's okay, because originally I was, if Brian would have let me, or B-Word would have let me introduce you, I would have said from Mom Swipes NyQuil, but you know.
Excellent. I was waiting. I was wholeheartedly waiting for this thing to go live and get shit on. I was waiting.
No, you know what? I'm just going to tell this quick story real quick of, we've gotten to know each other over this past few months, and it's been nice because you guys have been helpful to us, but also just a blessing. You're fun. We love your show. Found you on Facebook, and it was just awesome to find like-minded people. I mean, of course, people that listen to podcasts like podcasts, right? Or that make podcasts as well. Mm-hmm. But you guys reminded me, and I guess B-Word too, I'll speak for him, of our show, but also things that we wanted to do. Not that we were totally looking up to you because you're like 5'0", but you know, like just the camaraderie that we've seen in the podcast group. You were one of the first people that we were reaching out to, and it's been a pleasure, to be honest.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that. And we we did a live the other night on Instagram, and the gentleman from Inner Idiot, Tyler, you know, he said, I'd love to have me in the corner because I pump, and I do. I try to pump every show that I've been on, especially the shows that I enjoy. And I love listening to your show because it reminds me of our show. Mm-hmm. Listening to you guys, I'm like, man, I could hop right onto that show and fit right in. Like it's an extension of what we do. It's the same thing, just you guys sound better than we do. So
yeah, you have 58 minutes. Don't fuck it up.
B-Word's got a sexy voice. So
well, yeah, B-Word does. I love how B-Word's professional.
I'll tell you what's sexy though, man. So Gnome, you're wearing a Bleach Bros shirt, man.
Mm-hmm, indeed.
Yeah. What shirt you got on for the audience?
I have the hashtag FTGK. That would be fuck the Golden Knights.
Fuck the Golden Knights.
I knew it was meant to be the second I saw Jake post something about that. I'm like, there's somebody else out there like me that truly hates this team. I thought it was just me.
So now you're from originally Southern Nevada, correct?
Correct.
Vegas
originally
area?
Grew up in Vegas. Yep.
So we've talked about this extensively on our podcast as to why Jake has this disdain for the Vegas Golden Knights. But what's your reasoning behind that?
So I grew up playing hockey in Vegas. I played
Pee Wee.
Yeah, I played up until I was 13, and then I was the same height though from 5 to 13. It never really changed. But my parents pulled me out because it was expensive to play in Las Vegas, and they said it's time to play school sports. Unfortunately, I loved playing. I tried to get friends into hockey. I've been into hockey since I was 5 years old. I guess it's in my blood. I was born in the Midwest, and Vegas gets a team, and all of a sudden they get to go to the fucking Stanley Cup Finals. What about these other teams? Fuck that. It's not about the players. It's about the fans. That's why I hate that team. They know nothing. They don't care. It's all about flash tits and hockey for what they think is hockey. Fuck that team. Fuck those fans, period.
Yep. Don't put slut dust on a hockey jersey. Get the fuck out of here.
I will say this. I did take my son to a Sharks game. My son likes the Sharks. And I took him to a Sharks game thanks to my aunt. She gave us the tickets. And I will say this. It's one of the wildest sporting events I've ever been to. And they do put on a show and their fans get loud and ruckus. And I'll give them that. It was fun to be there at the game. But that's it.
Yeah, hockey games are fun, though. Live games are fun. I mean, I could have fun at even a Dallas Cowboys game with B-Word. I would have fun, right? The difference is that, as you said, the fans don't know anything, but also they were good automatically. And we've went to... I've argued this with when we had the bottom of the lineup boys on, because expansion drafts have changed everything and the way they, it's a business. They want them to be good. The issue is, and I was actually called on an ESPN show up here, and they wanted my commentary because I was known as their hockey guy at the time of what I thought of my old hometown getting a team. And I said, in 5 years, if they don't win anything, they'll probably be gone, or they'll be talking about it, or the fans will all be gone, because if they don't like a casino, they blow it up. What do you think's going to happen if the team goes to shit? I've already seen so many fans drop off this year after last year's loss. They're not talking, they're not chirping. And that's the problem I think I have the most, just like you, is their fan base is just fucking horrible.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the same thing with the Raiders now that they're in Vegas. It's so much different. I mean, I know that they're trying to make it, the same, but I don't know that you can replicate the LA Oakland fans for that. I really don't have a dog in the fight. Jake's known this for a while. I'm not the world's biggest hockey fan. I actually would like to get into it. I will tell you, though, I don't have a hockey team, and I will never pick the Golden Knights because I fight with Jake about way too much anyway. That would be the only thing that would, like, my only saving grace to continue not to fight with him would be not to pick the Golden Knights. So I'm all about that life.
What position did you play,
Center and wing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I was a left defenseman.
Yeah.
So me and my brother were both, we both played defense, but we played after you in Vegas. So we played later in life.
Yeah.
About 16, 17. So we missed that. But yeah, we were the big, my brother was and B-Word can attest to this. My brother's a fucking beast. He was just a fucking goon, and I was more of a blue line shooter. I could skate backwards pretty well. I suck at skating forwards. I looked like Happy Gilmore on dude. Like, it was bad. I could slap a stick and knock somebody over, but that's about as good as I was for.
Yeah, I was told by some people. I'm such a big hockey fan. I lived on a cul-de-sac, and even in high school, I would come home, I would take my net out, and I would play until I had to come inside. And I did that even through my senior year. Like, I just loved to play the game and loved to watch the game. And I had neighbors at certain points that were huge hockey fans, and they were like, do you play like do you actually play in a league? And I would say, no, not anymore. And they were like, you could probably go to college playing hockey. And I was good. I enjoyed it. I was sad that I had to stop. I really enjoyed playing. And I guess it's the only sport I could have had a shot at pro with my height. So
yeah, I mean, because those skates give you another 4 inches.
Yeah, I was like 5'9". So
yeah.
Speaking of an extra 4 inches, boys, we're going to take a quick break to pay some bills.
In a world with 2 brothers, 6 bottles, and endless opinions, comes a comedy podcast tale as old as time. The Half Hour Bros podcast has been hailed as so funny, you have to hear it to believe. Join Kurt and Tom as they talk beer, reviews, and the world as they see it through their slightly drunker eyes. The Half Hour Bros podcast is streaming on almost all major platforms. At Half Hour Bros Pod for the Twitter, and email halfhourbros@gmail.com.
Well, shout out to the Half Hour Bros. Thanks to Kurt for coming on last week. It was a fun episode. If you haven't checked that one out yet, definitely go and have some fun with that. Make sure to check out our back catalog as well. And with that, boys, it's coming up on Thanksgiving. So this episode's going to come out the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And I figured we would kind of throw out some Thanksgiving style topics. So Jake, you're the chef on the show.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say your favorite Thanksgiving dish is?
Turkey.
Turkey all the way.
I'm a basic, and I like the wings and I like the legs. I'm a turkey guy. Over the last few years, I've been experimenting like different recipes. I think 2 years ago, I spatchcocked the turkey, and I did a Caribbean jerk rub on it and made a plum chutney sauce. The next year, I did a whiskey pepper bacon gravy for my turkey. Wow. And then another year when it was just me and the wife, I did a miniature Thanksgiving, and I did Cornish game hens for everybody, and then made all smaller dishes. But I'm a mashed potatoes, turkey, gravy type guy. I've learned to love a few other dishes. I didn't grow up with like green bean casserole, so I don't really like it. My family always did ambrosia salad or 7-cup salad. Oh, that stuff's the Midwest disgusting mayonnaise in a jar with a bunch of fruit and coconut. It's gross.
Oh, thank God.
It's nasty.
The other thing I've been doing though lately, because I'm a big fan of charcuterie boards, is taking dishes and turning them into appetizers. So instead of sweet potato casserole, I took sweet potatoes and I sliced them on the mandolin a little thicker. Almost made them like, I didn't fry them, but I baked them like chips, and then put a candied pecan on top with a dollop of marshmallow. And I had those as as hors d'oeuvres out first. So a lot of the dishes that you would traditionally have, I had out as hors d'oeuvres, so you could snack on those, and then you could fill up your plate with your regular favorites near the end of the night, which was really actually fun.
What about you, Gnome?
I tend to agree. I think my most favorite part is the turkey. And last year and this year, I actually get to make the turkey. So in older past years, probably 7-8 years ago, before my wife and I got together, my family was pretty big on Thanksgiving, and I got to start cooking the turkey by accident. We can talk a little stories later about that, and I'll tell you how that came about. But now I'm stuck making the turkeys because of it. But since my wife and I got together, the two big holidays for her family are 4th of July and Thanksgiving. And it's always in Redondo Beach, California, because her aunt and uncle live there. And they live like a half mile from the beach. And so that's where we go every 4th of July and every Thanksgiving. And I never get to help with food because it's their house and they do it. And I've asked if they want help and whatever. So I love making the turkey. I like doing different things with it. Not that extreme, but I do always like to stuff it with fruit and lemon. I don't like stuffing inside the turkey. I'm more of a stuffing in an oven where it gets a little charred. That's just my preference. But I do love the yam casserole. I've grown up on it. I love it. That's probably my absolute favorite dish outside of the turkey.
See, I am a big fan of green bean casserole, but separate, but different than Jake, where Jake didn't grow up with it. I did grow up with it. So I actually really enjoy it, and I enjoy it completely, pour style. Like, you take the green beans out of the can, you take the cream of mushroom soup out of the can. It's one of my favorite dishes. The only time I ever eat it is on Thanksgiving, but I like that. What's your worst Thanksgiving dish, or what don't you like? So Jake, you talked about green bean casserole. Is there anything else that you just like can't stand?
Yeah, that 7-cup salad I was talking about. And then one year, and I love my grandma, I'm going to say this to Guac, but she made a turkey in a box in a microwave one year for our Thanksgiving. I don't know why. I don't know what happened in my family or where the money went or what, but she microwaved this whole turkey in there, and this thing came out, and it was probably the most god-awful thing I've ever seen, tasted, or was around. And my little brother B-word, he got in trouble for mouthing off about it. That was, I think, the same weekend when he asked why grandma's bald. So I think, yeah, the big one that sticks out for me, like I said, is that 7-cup or ambrosia salad. I never understood it. My family always made it as a tradition. It was on my dad's side, and it's just gross.
What about you, Gnome?
Gravy. Get the fuck out of here.
Really?
I don't need gravy. If you can't cook, then you need gravy. I've just never been a fan of it. Like, I do like gravy in the sense of gravy, but not for Thanksgiving. I grew up liking dark meat because
it's juicier.
I love my grandma. Same thing, but the white meat always came out dry.
Yeah.
When I do it, it still comes out moist. I actually cook. I do it non-traditional. I cook it in a bag in the roasting pan. So it still gets golden brown, but the breast actually stays nice and moist, but I still go after the dark meat.
That's like how we have said breast and moist.
Yeah, that's how it works.
And nobody flinched.
See, I do the butter cheesecloth on the turkey instead of the bag. I've done the bag, but I mean, I've done a bunch of different methods and tried out, but that's been the new thing where I'll melt butter, soak cheesecloth in it, and then wrap it on the turkey, put it in the fridge, pull it out, and pour some more butter on it, put it back in the fridge again, and cook it that way. And I've gotten good results that way, because I agree with you too. A point you made earlier about not stuffing the turkey. No, I cook it on the side. I don't put I put apples, lemon, cinnamon sticks. I actually put a lot of aromatics in my turkey that my family look at me and go, really? And I'm like, yo, trust me, with the brine I made and what I'm doing, it's going to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially citrus really brings out poultry flavor. It's a very important thing.
Yep.
What's your least favorite B word?
You know, I love damn near everything about Thanksgiving as far as the food goes. Of course, it's because I'm a larger than normal human being. But one of the things that I don't like is I don't like when people experiment with stuffing. Like if you do like a cornbread stuffing as an example, like I like cornbread, but I don't like cornbread stuffing. I just don't think it meshes. I just don't think it mixes. Or if as an example, like, you know, in the stuffing, there's like too many or, you know, too much celery or something like that. It just, I don't know. I kind of think things can be great if there's a good mix or a good mesh between what the ingredients that's in the dish. But for the most part, man, I kind of like all the dishes for Thanksgiving. I'm not a big yam guy though. I could do without yams. I can do without sweet potatoes. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I'm not a sweet potato fan. I did learn a trick a couple years ago with sweet potato casserole where you actually burn the marshmallows in the oven and then mix them in. And it gets that char flavor, like a little smoky flavor to it too. But I did a dish a couple years ago, and I know you were speaking of people not experimenting with things. I think there's, you know, a level with that. And I agree with you, B-word. That, you know, people should just cook the traditional things and just do them right instead of trying to go all crazy and make like, you know, purple mashed potatoes or whatever with, you know, celery root in it or something crazy. But I did so white sweet potatoes are not as sweet. And I did a play on an au gratin in my cast iron dish where I mandolined a white sweet potato and then did it with smoked Gouda and rosemary and Parmesan. And I made an au gratin like skillet with that on a play on a sweet potato casserole and then topped it with some bacon. And it was really good because it was more savory on that side. It still had that sweet hint, but not so much where it was overpowering, where it's like you're eating marshmallows, candy pecans, and, you know, a sweet potato that also has a ton of sugar and starch in it. So that was very nice. I think the problem a lot of people have with Thanksgiving, and Gnome brought this up, is that you go to it's a family night, right? Yeah. And I've used this argument before, and it's not that you serve this on Thanksgiving, and if you do, good for you, but meatloaf. My mama makes a better meatloaf than either your mama's, and I guarantee it. And that's due to taste preference. So I think one problem that a lot of people have is, especially in this culture where we try to go out and meet with, you know, when in our age demographic, is we're getting married, we're going and meeting these families and doing that. And you're going over there going, man, these people don't know how to cook, or I can't believe they eat that. And that was a big hurdle for me to get over, because I was used to the dishes my family did, and not, even if I don't like them, you know what I mean? That's what we had. Like, I didn't have green bean casserole until I started dating somebody, and that's what they do. So I think that's something that, sometimes I think we overlook with Thanksgiving, because growing up, it was just our family. And now that we're spreading out and creating our own families, it changes the game a bit.
Yeah. Once you get sperm involved, things just get all fucked up, doesn't it? So on that note, so when I think
hold on, let me interrupt you. Sorry. You talked about baby gravy, sperm, right?
Yes.
And you don't like gravy, right? No?
Correct.
Now, you said you like gravy. You like country gravy is what I presume. Now, I heard of this. It just popped in my brain, and I'm not trying to say white gravy, B-word, because you said sperm, but that's where this thought went. I heard an argument from people this week of what kind of gravy do you eat on your turkey? Who's eating white gravy on a turkey?
No.
What is it? Is it just shitty made gravy, or is it actually like the gravy I'm thinking of where it's like country style and you're putting that on a fucking turkey?
The only white gravy that I'm aware of is country gravy. Okay. But I'm not a big fan of country gravy. around a turkey at all.
I think there's just not enough to make it a brown gravy, like enough ingredient to make it go to the brown gravy. Because typically, at least for Thanksgiving, you're using the turkey juice as your base to make your gravy. Other than that, that's all I got, because I don't ever make the gravy. I never have. And I'm not like I said, I'm not a big gravy fan when it comes to that kind of gravy. I'm more of a breakfast gravy fan. So
I guess it's just like, as we were saying, it's just a shitty gravy. It's still a turkey gravy. It's just a shitty version of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
that's all I want to know.
Like, I would prefer, if it came down to it, I prefer the shitty brown bag gravy seasoning. Like, I'll eat that.
Oh, like the packets, like the McCormick's
like
or
Boston
something?
Market gravy. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that shit gets your dick hard. So
let me ask this, since we're talking about the, I don't want to call it the cheap shit, but I'd say the easy shit. You guys like the easy shit stuffing? Like the Stouffer's or whatever?
Yep.
I actually think it's a little underrated. I think that people, try to outdo themselves sometimes. And sometimes if you just like get it out of the box, it's okay. I'm just not, I don't know. I guess it all depends on the setting and who you're cooking for, how in depth you go. But if somebody pulled out a box of Stouffer's, I'm not going to get offended.
No, I mean, I agree with you, because I usually just buy the dry bag mix. Like the breadcrumbs and there's this stuff. Because I went those years where, and I realized, especially being in kitchens and stuff and working with people, not everything needs to be made from scratch.
Right.
Why try that? You don't need to do every damn thing. I mean, you can, or if you do the potluck style where everybody brings something that's different. Yeah. But if you're going to put yourself at the task of doing everything, something then is going to go wrong. Let's just be honest with ourselves. So pulling out the Stouffer, no, not a problem. I think there are some underrated things that are just basic necessities. Like what? It's like when I go into restaurants and the person makes their own ketchup. Why? There's good ketchups already out there. What are you proving by making a fucking ketchup in your restaurant? The same thing. What are you proving by, saying that you made the bread stale on your counter for 14 days and shredded it by hand and mixed in everything? Like, I don't fucking care. You know what it tastes like? It's either going to taste like mush or it's going to taste like, oh, okay, yeah, you did a decent job. You know what I mean? There's not nothing that's going to really overwhelm me with the greatest stuffing on the planet.
I agree. For me, like stovetop or whatever, that stuff's okay. I prefer the Mrs. Cubisons or Cubisons, whatever it is. That the first time I had it, I thought it was homemade because it didn't taste like stovetop, and I was like, "Oh man, this is really good stuffing." I'm like, "You make this homemade?" And they're like, "No, it's out of a box. There's the box right there." I was like, "No shit, it's good." So there's no reason to go homemade when you can spend $2 and have great stuffing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I remember being at my grandma's for Thanksgiving, and I lived in Southern Nevada. She lived in Northern Nevada. And anytime I would be at her home, it was already decorated for Christmas. So the tree was already up. The tree was already decorated come Thanksgiving. Now in my house, however, that tree doesn't go up until at least the day after Thanksgiving. I mean, I just don't. You keep Thanksgiving. You don't listen to Christmas music until December 1st. Like, I'm kind of staunch that way. Do you guys have any of those types of opinions on that?
Yes. So growing up, it was very close to that, where we would put our tree up Thanksgiving weekend. So we'd have Thanksgiving. Whatever we did on Friday, I don't remember, when I was young, but, and then we would put up the tree usually Saturday. And that was growing up how it is. Now it's even a little bit further back because my wife's birthday is the very beginning of December. And she says, we are not fucking we are both super elf on the shelf. We love Christmas. We love to decorate, but it doesn't happen till after her birthday. She's like, I want my day. And then we can decorate. And then when that happens, it's like Santa came all over our house. So it's everywhere. It is every fucking where.
Little ho gravy.
Yeah. Santa's white gravy.
And then, but for me also, it's also the reverse side of that is like the day after Christmas, that shit's in a box back in the garage. Get it out of here. But as far as Thanksgiving, if there's people that already decorate, you're out of your fucking mind.
See, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, actually, overall.
100%.
And it's not just because I'm a chef with food. I think there's just a lot behind it that I like. But so I used to have a rule. I used to hate actually Christmas until I had kids and until I met my wife. She's made it way more enjoyable. If my wife had her way, I think we would have the house decorated now. That doesn't happen. I do allow some Christmas music beforehand, like they were listening to it tonight in the kitchen when I was cooking, whatever, they're going to do their thing. But I used to have a rule you couldn't decorate till December 1st, because mine was you had to wait till the month that the holiday is in to go about it. The only thing is now, especially being in a split household, it makes it a little harder. I want to make sure my daughter gets to enjoy everything. So sometimes we cut the tree the weekend right after. Sometimes it's the first week in December. It really depends on when it coincides, because we have a tradition where we have a local tree farm we go to every year. And we've been going there since my daughter was 6 months old, my oldest. And we cut our own tree down. And so we go, we look at the farm, we get hot cocoa, we go out there early in the morning, we walk around for hours, find a tree, get the saws, cut it down, bring it back. And so that's our thing. So we typically try to go the weekend after Thanksgiving and get it. But it also does
lumberjack. You go out and cut a tree.
Yeah.
You
can see all the photos. Yeah, I cut a tree every year, and this year my wife's happy because our new house has 14-foot ceilings. She goes like, we can get a bigger tree, and I'm thinking, I'm probably getting the big ass fucking tree this year because everyone's coming up to see our new house too. But no, I do that. It's a tradition. I love it. My family loves it. Everybody goes out, and the only thing that we disagree on now is what kind of tree, because we all have a preference of what we like.
Yeah, nice piece of ash, bro.
A nice piece of ash, you dendrophiliac. No, so I would wait. The only other tradition I have that I'll say about Christmas really quick is I put Gizmo on the top of my tree. Cool. Gremlins. And I put a Rambo Gizmo up there too, to be perfectly honest. I mean,
that's actually pretty badass, dude.
Yeah, because that's the best Christmas movie of all time.
Yeah, I'm with you both. I think that Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving, Christmas is Christmas. I think that there has to be a solid line between the two of them. No, I completely agree that those December babies, man, they get a little possessive over their birthday, you know, and so I completely understand that. She's got to have her own day, and then you guys go ahead and do the damn thing. But so this Elf on a Shelf, like when my daughter was growing up, Elf on a Shelf wasn't a thing. Now I have a daughter who's in college. You guys have kids that are still in the house. So tell me, like, when did this become a thing? Because I don't remember this ever when she was young.
7 years ago?
I'd say that's accurate.
No, 7. Because I go all out with Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did for my oldest, she was so convinced. I did where I would move the elf every night, and I actually put up a fake security camera with her. And I took fishing line and crawled on my hands and knees and hid from this camera and made it look like the elf attacked the camera and threw it across the room and showed her that. I mean, so I go all out for Christmas and stuff for my kids now. That's, I think, what makes it more fun. But yeah, Elf on the Shelf's great. I wish my wife would let me do Krampus in a corner, and that's never going to happen because I'm a big Krampus fan.
Though.
Yeah. But see, like what Gnome was saying though, my oldest was born December 23rd. And so I really make it a point to her birthday is a big deal and a big thing. And I don't do that. We're combining it. Your presents are combined. No, it's all separate. We get to do what she wants. And
that's good.
The hardest thing, I feel bad for her because all her friends are usually on vacation with their families. So she doesn't get a lot of parties. We'll do it earlier in the year. My ex wanted to do the every 6 months, a half birthday. And I said, fuck that shit. Just like decorating before Thanksgiving. You celebrate your birthday around your birthday. But that's just my opinion there.
Well, I can say that. So my wife, her birthday is beginning of December. Jake and I are like, I'm basically the after product that has grown from the semen that hit the carpet of Jake. And he's a normal, full-size human being because my son and his daughter are very, very fucking close to age. And my daughter and his son are only like a month apart. Mm-hmm. So my daughter's birthday is the day before Thanksgiving this year. So, and then next year her birthday will be on Thanksgiving. And I'm a little jealous because I love Thanksgiving's also my favorite holiday simply because you get the Christmas feeling, you get all the family together, but there's not the chaos of presents of who did what. It's basically let's eat. Like, let's enjoy our morning. Let's get everything ready. Let's eat. Let's feel like shit. Let's watch some movies. And to me, that's the turning point for the Christmas season. Like, that's my thing. Is now Thanksgiving night is let's eat some pie. I think I want to eat again. No, I don't really want to eat again. Let's watch some movies. And then we start the Christmas holiday.
Now, did you guys grow up? So I grew up in a very traditional Southern household. And so, and B-Word will attest to this too. Half my family are Redskin fans. The other half are Cowboys fans. So it's always been fun. They're also all members of the military. So they all argue at the table. But the men weren't allowed in the kitchen at all. And I mean at all. Like, you got over there and you sat and watched football and you hung out and the women cooked. And I'll never forget when I came home from college and I'd bring girls. They didn't know how to cook and my grandma would force them to be in there anyways because damn it, they were going to learn. And that's where they were. Did you guys have anything like that, or was it just sort of a new age free-for-all?
So I'm an only child, and I had to learn how to cook because during summertime when I would start to be at the house by myself, I'd get bored. I could only clean and listen. I mean, I'd listen to music all day long, but until I was a certain age where I could actually go out and do more things independently, I was like, I'm tired of fucking Hot Pockets and cereal. I want to learn to eat like real food. So I actually learned how to cook on my own. And same thing though. None of the men, my grandpa he loved to bake, and he would always make an apple pie. And there's nobody on this earth, rest his soul, there's still nobody on this earth that can make an apple pie as good as he could when he stuck to his normal recipe. He always loved to change it. Where I started was my work gives us a turkey every year, which I fucking love. And we actually got ours today. And so when AJ, the Stone from our show, him and I are cousins, we would always have it at his mom's house. And this was before all the haywire of family leaving each other and all this crazy nonsense.
Shout out to AJ's mom.
Shout out to Bobby. The schnoz. I hope she listens to you guys. She'd love it. Anyway, so I had my turkey. They wanted to. I was like, let me make the leftover turkey because we always seem to run out of turkeys. B-Word's dying in the background,
dude.
Guys.
He's gonna die any second.
I forgot how to swallow.
Oh my god, he didn't. He doesn't know how to swallow. He's a spitter.
I took a drink of water and somebody said hi to Bobby, and next thing you know, like water literally went everywhere. And the worst part is that like I thought to myself, hey, you need to hit a mute button, and I have like 3 that I can hit. I didn't even hit one, dude.
Couldn't figure it out.
This sounds like an episode of Dad's on Dayquill right now.
It
like
happens.
Normally ours are like perfectly edited. Like this is gonna make the episode right here. This
is what happens. AJ and I go on to shows, and occasionally when Dome does, then all of a sudden internet shit goes haywire because he's got the internet herpes with him. It's chaos. That's what we are. Anyway, so I go to make this turkey, and this is how I season my turkey every year since then. And everybody was scoffing at me and like, you're disgusting. I can't believe you do that to a turkey. I slit, put butter on the inside, put butter on the outside, normal. Threw the apples and some lemons on the inside, still normal. And then my go-to seasonings were seasoning salt, lemon pepper, cayenne, and dill.
Yeah.
And everybody looked at me like, what the fuck are you doing to that thing? And I'm like, you just calm down. When it comes out of the oven and you guys are all drooling, you can fucking thank me later. Throw it in the oven. And the thing I like about the bag is that it takes about an hour off the time of cooking. Yeah. It cooks faster, which is nice. Within like 10, 15 minutes of the timer about to go off, they're all standing around the oven looking at this thing because the smell's just coming out. And they were all standing around the table while I was carving it, and they're just picking at it, eating it. Mind you, we had already had Thanksgiving. This was just a leftover turkey that I made. And so that was the first time I made a turkey, and I was in charge of the turkey every year after that. So
now, do you guys do a ham as well?
We did not in my family, but we do now with my wife's family.
Yeah, so. See, like you were saying with work, I just got a Corobodo bone-in ham this year for my work. And I can't wait to do that because I usually do both because also in my household, my brother was the ham fan and I was the turkey fan. So we always had to have both. Mm-hmm. And we did the old school, just keep pouring beer on it until it was, until it was done. But yeah, I'm excited to break into that guy too. So now final question on your bird, because you seem like you know what the hell you're doing, Gnome. Big or small bird? I know you're trying to feed a ton of people, but what would you prefer to cook?
So if I have my preference, probably like 18-pound max. We were a little bit worried about our work turkey situation this year because there's been issues with supply. So I put one on my grocery order last week, and it just says 16 to 24 pounds. And I'm like, that's cool. They'll give me in the middle, right? Fucker's 23.5 pounds.
Ooh.
And then I got my work turkey today, and it's 20 pounds. So I have 43 pounds of turkey in my house right now that I have to cook. And I'm not happy about that. It's too much.
That's what happened to me last year.
So
I had, I similar to you, on my grocery order that gave me a range, and it actually came in above. I had a 26-pound turkey to feed 3 of us.
Wow.
It was so stupid. It was absolutely stupid. I do want to circle back real quick because Jake, you were talking about traditional Southern household, and the women were in the kitchen and and the men were typically doing something else. In my grandma's household, similar to you, it was very conservative Italian. I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but the way that I became a Dallas Cowboys fan was I was going from the living room to the kitchen, back and forth, and I was annoying my grandma. And the Cowboys were playing the at the time they were known as the Redskins, and my dad's side of the family, the men are all Native American. My grandma is 100% Italian, was 100% Italian, and so she forced me, because I was going in and out of the kitchen, that I had to pick a team, and if I chose any other team but the Cowboys, then I wasn't having Thanksgiving dinner. And so I chose the Cowboys, and I've been a fan ever since. Well, about 20 years later, before my grandma died, we're watching a Cowboys game, and she looks at me and she goes, "Brian, I just absolutely love Troy Aikman's butt." So for the past 30 years of my life, or however long it's been now, I have been a fan of the Cowboys because of Troy Aikman's butt. And I'm not ashamed of that at all. So Troy Aikman, if you ever happen to listen to the Bleach Bros podcast, which I recommend that you do, I'm a fan of you because my grandma loved your butt. So there you go. Back catalog worthy right there.
I have no words, because hail to the Redskins and fuck you, B-word, and fuck Troy Aikman's ass.
Wow. That got a little.
I bet you fucking would.
You know what? When he's done, he would look like Romo.
What, just all crippled on the grass?
Big, goofy grin. He'd be funny. Called Fucks Funny.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's one of my Thanksgiving stories. I have a few. I don't know if we'll get into all of those tonight, but do you guys have any Thanksgiving stories? Jake, let's start with you first.
Yeah. So as we've talked about, B-word, and you know this, I grew up, with a little farm. We're a little redneck, a little crazy. So one year we're cooking. That means
to the audience is Jake used to defile the sheep.
Sure. So I was sitting out on the front porch. All the men are watching the game or anything. We're not in the kitchen. And you remember I lived near an ostrich farm.
Yep.
So an emu is walking in the Pahrump Desert just on its own. So for some reason as a kid, I go, why the fuck's a dinosaur out there? Because they look like raptors. And then I think I'm like 10. I go get my grandpa, and my grandpa gets his cowboy hat and goes, "Boys, let's go bag the biggest turkey this year." And grabs all our lassos. And we jump in the back of my dad's Mitsubishi Mighty Max, and we go hauling ass down the road chasing this fucking emu. Okay. So there's me, my brother, my grandpa, my uncle, my dad's driving, and my other uncle is sitting in the front seat. And we got all of us boys in the back of this fucking truck with our lassos up trying to fucking chase this emu down a dirt road and rope it. All the women now know what's going on. They're sitting on the back porch because we had one of those big back porches, and they're watching this. So we're driving around, we're missing everything. We get this big ass fucking turkey or emu cornered, right? And the way it was cornered, there was a fence, and it had a little indent. You remember those driveway fences that we had in Pahrump, B-word, where they had the gate?
Yeah.
So we all jump out, and we all start walking towards it with our arms out. And all of a sudden I look over at my grandpa, and I go, "Grandpa, these things can kill you and kick harder than a horse." And after I said that, I look over at my brother and I look back at my grandpa, who's in his 70s. I've never seen him run so fucking fast. He just runs back to the truck. My dad runs, my uncle runs, everybody runs. All of a sudden, me and my brother look up and it's me and him. My brother just goes, "Save yourself." I take off. This bird starts chasing us. We jump in the back of the truck we're driving. You know, you remember the Jeff Goldblum scene in Jurassic Park when he's in the back of the truck and he's leaning and the transfer's like, that's what it felt like at that moment, because this bird is now running at us, squawking and going nuts. And we drive back home and all the women are on the back porch laughing at us. And they go, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And my grandma goes, "We were trying to get the biggest damn bird for the Thanksgiving feast." And they went, "Who was going to cook it?" So we didn't get the emu and we ended up eating a regular dinner. But it was a fun damn day. I will say that.
Well, that's good. How much alcohol was involved in that, man?
I wasn't drinking, but I'm sure they were a lot. Remember, you drink the ham drinks just as much as we do. It's done.
What about you, Gnome? What do you got?
I got 3 must-tell stories, and we can break them up however you want, but I got 3.
All right, give me one first.
First one, I'll go sentimental. One of my favorite Thanksgiving stories. I'll try not to cry because it is sentimental to me. So my stepdad and his mom, so she's my grandma. I was not as close with her as I was my actual blood grandparents, my mom's parents.
Yeah.
But every Thanksgiving she would spend with her daughter, my aunt, and her family. Well, my senior year, they decided to go out of town for Thanksgiving, and she was not doing well. Health-wise. So she lived, you guys are familiar with Vegas. I was in Henderson, and she lived over off of like Cheyenne and 215.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, so way across town. Mm-hmm. So I decided, I was like, hey, I'm going to make a plate. I'm going to make a plate for Grandma, and I'm going to take it over to her because she's all by herself. So I hopped in my car, took her a plate, and I sat there and had Thanksgiving dinner again with her. And just bullshitted and whatever. And then she died like 10 days later. And at the funeral, we're all sitting in the front. And she had roommates. She lived downstairs and her 2 roommates lived upstairs. And this is a massive house, like 3,500 square foot house. And, you know, at the end, they're coming by to say condolences to the family. And they were one of the last people. And they get to me and they're like, "You don't even have any idea how much that night meant to your grandma that you brought that dinner all the way over here." And I was just like, boom, tears everywhere. Just straight. I tried to hold it together the whole funeral. And right when they said that, I just lost it. So that's one of my favorite stories because I did have a great time with her. So
I have one similar to that. And that's why I had to do that little sigh initially. My grandpa in 2010, his health really started to deteriorate right around Halloween. And actually, it was probably over the summer, but it was really noticeable over Halloween. And he had been in and out of the hospital. And what they thought was pneumonia turned out to be lung cancer. And he hadn't smoked for, I think, 30, 40 years at that point. It was just kind of crazy. But it was the last Thanksgiving with him. I remember sitting in the hospitals a couple days before Thanksgiving, and he just wasn't there. Like, he was alive. He understood what was being said, all that sort of stuff. But it actually made me think about all of my memories with my grandpa. And he was the person who really taught me how to drive. And so I remember going home that night and I wrote a poem, and I don't really write poetry all that much, but I wrote a poem titled "The Man Who Taught Me How to Drive." And a couple days later, on the 3rd of December, he passed away. And it was just one of those things where it was one of those last times that I remember sitting there. It was just me and him. And I actually had the opportunity to just kind of tell him everything that I wanted to say. Whether he heard me or not, it was that. So not to continue on that, sadness or whatever, but that's where I really relate to your story there. And I feel for you.
Yeah, you guys are, I guess I'm lucky. I've never had that type of story. A lot of loss in my family. We live too damn long. I guess the only one for me was I used to donate a lot of time during those years, especially being in the restaurant industry. When I was on that side, I used to have to work those nights. I remember one year we were cooking, I think, 82 turkeys for the homeless. And it started out a bad argument with one of my chefs where he flipped out why he had to be there and all that. and I sort of lost it on him. And I was just trying to feed the masses and take care of people, and send out hot food and stuff. And we were doing it mainly for a retirement home and then homeless. And this old lady came up to me at the end of the night, and she just grabbed me and she goes, "Hey, I saw you yelling at that kid." And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "And I totally understand why." She goes, "Because you have no idea what this means to a lot of us of what you're doing." And she goes, "But I hope you guys work that part out." And it just stuck with me. It started to make me, I think, act differently in a kitchen. Not that I think he was in the wrong still, but it was the way of how I approached people about things. And so that's one of those moments where I was more thankful at that time, because that changed me as a person. And it also changed how I reacted towards people, and realizing that you can make a difference in people that you're not even that close with, sometimes more so than people you are. Mm-hmm. So that's another reason this holiday is really important to me, because I think, we might take it for granted of how many people actually do get those meals or those times with people. What's your second story, Gnome?
I'll turn it right back up. So we, like I said before, we'd be at AJ's house. It was a big house. This is probably close to 3,000 square feet. And downstairs, the bathroom had a closet in it, and it was underneath the stairs. So AJ, myself, and AJ's brother are all playing hide and seek. And so I believe it's AJ's brother and I that are hiding, and we decide to hide in this closet. Well, you open the door and the closet goes down, and then it turns so it's going under the stairwell, right? So we're like, well, let's get behind these boxes so AJ can't fucking find us. So we're in there. Sure as shit, Grandpa comes in the bathroom. You could hear him turn on the light, and you could just hear him kind of mumbling him to himself, and then you just hear the gases start flowing. And we're just in there, and mind you, like, it was enough where they could seep right into this closet, and we just have to sit in there. So AJ couldn't find us, and we were stuck in a closet smelling shit for the next 15 minutes. Thanks, Grandpa. And then the best part, my grandpa, like, rest his soul, he was one of the sweetest men in the world. And we came out, and he was like, "I didn't know you boys were in there. Were you in there while I was going to the bathroom?" "Yeah, Grandpa, we could hear your shit and smell it the whole time."
That's funny.
Oh,
I have one. That's funny that you tell that story, because I have one kind of similar. My other grandpa, my mom's dad, he had. We were living in the Vegas area at the time, and he drove down in his car, and he made it all the way to Vegas. And the problem is that his transmission decided that you could no longer put it into drive, and so you could put it into reverse or neutral, but not drive. And so he ended up getting pulled over right outside the Las Vegas Strip for driving in reverse down the road. So basically, he's going the right direction per se. He's just facing the wrong way. And so he ended up staying with us. And that was a few weeks before Thanksgiving. And he ended up staying with us. And he was there for my birthday. My birthday's in November. And my grandfather was just filthy. Like, I love him to death, but he was just an odd duck. He just didn't shower all the time. Like, if he was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, as an example, he just wouldn't clean it up. So there'd be like jelly marks everywhere. Like, the remote control would have peanut butter on it. It was just this really weird thing, right? And so he was like Pigpen off of the Peanuts. He just kind of had this cloud of stuff to not be desired around him. The other thing that my grandfather had was he had the world's largest fucking nutsack. Okay. And the reason why I know this is because
please don't say peanut butter. Please don't say peanut butter. It's on the remote.
The reason why I know this is because he would take my cousin and I to the swimming pool, and my grandpa loved to swim. Okay. And he was one of those old dudes that just dropped chow, right? And he would put on one of those fucking short little dantanas, and he would go swimming with that thing. And my cousin TK and I would be like, how the fuck does he swim with that anchor in between his legs? Like, it was the biggest nutsack I've ever seen. So here I am. It's Thanksgiving. My grandfather doesn't have a car because his transmission went out because he was driving in reverse. Now, granted, he didn't hit anybody, so, it was kind of nice, right? My mom's getting fed up with my grandpa because he doesn't normally, like, live with us at all. And, when you have your parents living with you, it's just not the funnest, right? And so he's already dirty. He hasn't showered this day. And I had gone to the store with my mom, and I walk in through the front door, and my grandfather has proceeded to lose the television remote. And so I walk in and I'm like, "Hey, Grandpa." And he's like, "Hey, Brian. He's got this deep South accent, right? "Hey, Brian, do you know where the remote control is?" I said, "No, Grandpa, I haven't seen it." And he's like, "Okay." And he lifts his leg. And mind you, we're in Southern Nevada, so it's probably in the 70s outside, right? This guy is wearing shorts that probably don't touch his kneecaps anyway. And he lifts that leg up and he pushes his hand toward the TV, and like a fucking rolling carpet, this nutsack comes rolling out. And I'm just like, holy shit, Grandpa, cover that up. And so, yeah, so needless to say, you got to see your grandfather's shit. I got to see my grandfather's nutsack. So
Troy Aikman's butt and Grandpa's nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
Exactly.
No. The only bad one for me doesn't deal with shit or nuts. But remember my dad, B-Word, was the king of never finishing a fucking project?
Yep.
Now, I'll say this, no. My dad was one of the most talented woodworkers I've ever met in my life, if he could finish the fucking job.
Crazy good. So
one year, my dad decides that we need to have Thanksgiving at our sort of rundown Michael Myers house. And he was building an add-on to the kitchen that wasn't finished. Well, it was raining that one time this year in Nevada really bad. So the roof was leaking. So my dad just put up tarps all along the roof. Well, the problem is it was raining and he put up those tarps days before and never really checked them. So in the middle of dinner, me and my brother are sitting there and, we're young kids and we just keep hearing this sloshing sound. And we're like, what the fuck's going on? And so my grandpa is sitting at one end of the table. My grandpa is one of the coolest guys you can ever meet. He officiated my wedding. B-Word, you can attest to my papa. He's a great man. And my papa is getting pissed off because he doesn't really like my dad. And he's going, "What the hell's that noise? What the hell's going on around here, Mark?" And all of a sudden, my grandma goes to get up and the tarp gives way. And all this really old water just dumps on her and all the food. And our whole family just sit there. And me and my brother just keep eating because, it's like dad smack him off at the table. You don't know what to do. So you just eat and just try to mind your business. And we're just sitting there. And my dad's like, everybody's yelling and fighting. There's no food left. There's just shit water everywhere. Thanksgiving ended early. That's all I really remember, and everybody left. So it wasn't really a memorable one because it just was such an abrupt end to the tarp. And the kitchen never got finished, by the way, either. So we ended up moving out of that house and my parents divorced. But yeah, I think that was a bad one.
So when we were all kids though, and we weren't quite yet at the age where we were either helping cook or really taking over. And we already talked about, who typically cooked in the houses, but after dinner, I imagine everybody sat at the same table, right? At least for Thanksgiving, if you didn't do it otherwise. But after dinner, was there praise to the cook? Thank you for cooking, or, hey, that was a great meal. Good job. Anything like that? Did you guys have that in your houses?
We only thank Jesus at our table.
Oh, okay. Did he take the wheel too?
He does.
Well, so
only in reverse though.
Yeah, only in reverse.
Only in reverse with a big old nutsack. So in my grandma's house, she typically cooked everything. Okay. And so my grandfather was absolutely madly in love with my grandma. And he would do the dishes. I mean, he would take care of everything, but she cooked. And I remember for Thanksgiving one year, my grandma got the turkey at Smith's, and I think that she did all of her different sides. And my aunt came over and she brought some stuff, and so everybody kind of contributed a little bit. But my grandma really cooked the whole thing. And my grandpa and I'm 12 or 13 at this point maybe, and my grandpa from the head of the table, he puts his fork down, and you got that sound with a fork clanking on the table, and he just puts his hands on the side of the table and pushes himself back. And he's just like, "Oh, that was a great meal. Thanks for the bird, Ma." Because that's what he called her, was Ma. And she's like, "Oh, thank you. And he goes, "Yeah, you just can't beat the meat at Smith's." And here I am, 12 or 13. And all I really heard and paid attention to is that you can't beat the meat at Smith's, and I fucking lost it, dude. I am at the Thanksgiving table, and I am laughing. I'm laughing so hard it sounds like Tickle Me Elmo, bro. It is, it's going down. And so every Thanksgiving, somebody ends up making the joke, you just can't beat the meat at Smith's, and I lose it again. It's pretty funny.
That reminds me of an exact story like my family. So my brother, because we were the classiest of families. My brother decides to wear a T-shirt that says "Don't spank the monkey" on it to Thanksgiving dinner one year, and it's a picture of a kid holding up a monkey and gonna slap it. Bought it at PacSun or something. And my great grandma rolls up to the table. Oh no, I'm wearing a spank the monkey. My brother's wearing the choke the chicken, and my grandma rolls up to the table. My great grandma. And she looks at my brother because, we had chickens growing up. She goes, "Yeah, Caleb, I get it. Sometimes those chickens get out of hand and you just got to go choke them." Yes. And our whole family's looking at my grandma, give my great grandma, this speech to my brother at the Thanksgiving table about choking his chicken and watching my brother just try to contain it and go, "Yeah, Grandma, I try not to choke my chicken as much as possible." And to this day, God bless, I don't think she ever knew what the hell was going on. But yeah.
That's so funny. Gnome, what's your third story?
All right. So this is probably one of the favorites. This is AJ, by far one of his favorite stories of all time. So AJ and I are 6 years apart. Yeah. And so I would say I was either 25 or 26 when this happened, which puts him at 19 or 20. So he's still a little naive. And I've already seen enough of this world to be pissed off and not really give a shit. So we always had a tradition. We would go out Black Friday shopping. Well, as you know, each year it got earlier and earlier and earlier. Well, this time we were going to go, and we decided to venture in Walmart in Henderson, but we had nothing to buy. We were just going to watch festivities take place. Now, I may be an asshole. I may have a filthy mouth, and I have manners. I was raised that way. Like I said, I am an asshole, but I'll hold the door for you. I'll say please. I'll say thank you. I'll say sorry. I'll say excuse me. Which is not a good recipe for me to be out Black Friday shopping in Las Vegas with a bunch of fucking assholes that don't give a shit anyway, let alone on Black Friday.
Right.
I'm also, depending on the gas station I'm leaving, between 5'5" and 5'8", maybe 5'9" if I'm really lucky and I'm wearing some thicker shoes. I have a mouth of a 7-foot man, and I'll back down from nobody. And and people tend to talk down to me because I am smaller until I open my mouth, and then they tend to back off because they realize I'm crazy enough to say shit that I'm going to say.
Chihuahua syndrome.
Yeah, Napoleon, right? So we're walking through Walmart. This lady hits me with her cart. And I said, "Oh, fucking excuse me." And she just looks at me and then takes off. I said, "Oh, that's okay. I'll apologize for you, dumb cunt." And she keeps going.
Good job.
She keeps going. It didn't end there. That was just the startup. So she's gone. Now we're walking, and there's a line. We're all walking in this line. And this guy, who's literally like 6'8", stops right in front of me to look through the DVD bin. So me being me, I walk right next to him and let my shoulder brush right up against him because you stopped right in front of me.
Was it shoulder to butt cheek, though?
It was like shoulder to waist, maybe rib cage. And
okay.
He waits till I get about 10 feet away, and he goes, "Shoulder me again, and we'll see what happens." I said, "Motherfucker, open your mouth one more time. I'm going to grab a ladder and knock you the fuck out." And without pause, this is how crazy I am. Without pause, AJ leans down to me. He's taller than me. He's like 6'1", 6'2". Leans down to me and goes, "You want me to go get a ladder right now?" This guy looks me dead in the eye and realizes I'm crazy enough to say it, and he just looks back down and starts going through the DVD bin again. But AJ's immediate reaction was like, "You want me to go get that ladder for?" Like,
I need to get
real.
this ladder.
Like, this is gonna happen. We're gonna make the news tonight.
Man steals ladder during Black Friday fight.
Yeah. So needless to say, yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
That's funny.
But
that's epic.
Yeah, I don't really go Black Friday. I mean, now everything's online anyway. So
right.
But that, if you ask AJ, that's probably one of his favorite stories.
That's hilarious, though. I dig that a lot. So, Gnome, I realized that in the beginning of this episode, we introduced you, and I'm pretty sure we introduced your podcast, but we didn't really give you an opportunity to do a shout out. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us a little bit about your socials, all that sort of good stuff. So that way, if fans of our show don't already know that they need to start following the dads on Dayquill, that they can at least try to identify you and try to look for all your stuff.
Yeah, man. Dads on Dayquill. We are on any platform you can find podcasts on. Apple, Spotify, the smaller ones, Good Pods. You can go directly on to Podbean, which is where we upload to. I believe you guys uploaded that as well. You can find us on Instagram. That's dads_on_Dayquill. We have a Facebook group. Jake has really brought life back to that group with a lot of his posting. So if you want to come join the fun and festivities of just nonstop debauchery, men and women, it's Dads on Dayquill group page on Facebook. We will accept you. We prefer no politics, no hate, any of that. We try to monitor that. Lately, it's gotten a little out of hand, and we just haven't given a shit. But also on Twitter, I run that. That's at @Dayquill. We are 3 members. Stoned has been on the show. Our resident dummy, Dome, hasn't been on yet, and maybe one day he will. You guys are coming on with us this upcoming weekend for our episode for next week for Thanksgiving. So, but yeah, Dads on Dayquill, we are a 3 dads comedy podcast. We are not a dads podcast, and people have been misled by that before. And we are foul mouthed. And yes, we tell dad stories, but it's not dad centric. It's 3 dads just being themselves and getting a break from being a dad and being the normal person that you got to be when you're around your kids. So yeah, that's us. Come check us out.
Well, we definitely appreciate you being on the podcast. I mean, we get a good kick. I mean, there's a lot of messages going back and forth, shit talking, laughing, joking, the whole works. You and Jake were recently on the Inner Idiots Instagram Live, which is on their Instagram page. So definitely go check that out too. So yeah, we're good to go. So with that, Jake, what do you got for us?
Thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized.